What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you learn how to reach people online, build an audience, and get more clients, build your influence, all that fun stuff. We've got a great guest with us today. Zach Hammer is back. We've got Gene Volpe, the Evil Bald Ninja. We're talking about how to become the MicroFamous agent because my book, MicroFamous, is live now on Kindle. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So first of all, the Junior Grandmaster in the co-pilot seat. What's up, man?
Good morning, Johnson. Hey, man, this is super awesome. Your book is live. I've been slowly chewing through it. I'm a dyslexic. It takes me a long time to read anything, but it is really good content. If you guys, Matt's going to have a link for you guys somewhere. He'll tell you where. I don't know where it is, but you'll be able to go and download a copy of it. And so that's really exciting stuff. I know you put a lot of work into it. If Gene would only help out a little bit and get the word out, I mean, that would really help, but I don't know why he doesn't.
I don't like that dude that much. You got to be kidding me.
Then we got the Zach Hammer, the man who looks at everything as a nail. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. Always happy to be here, nailing whatever I can. I think that's.
Oh, take it easy. Whoa. Everything that moves.
Well played. Well played, Zach. That was awesome. All right. So I thought it'd be fun. I just thought of this, but I thought it'd be fun to share a little bit about each of our experiences of becoming micro-famous in our space, and then we can talk about some of the tactics that are in the book and stuff like that. But first, Gene, you brought something up right before we went live. We were talking about our various dietary needs and what we eat after the show and things like that. So, Gene, what is this thing of adult Happy Meals being shipped to your door? And we'll get into the microphone stuff.
Oh, this is amazing. Like, it's amazing. So if you want to die real quick, this is a really good way to do it. So you guys have DoorDash out there? Do you know what DoorDash is? Okay. Oh, yeah. So if you DoorDash from McDonald's, and I can't remember the name of it, so I texted my cousin right now. They order like 4 a week. It's basically a Happy Meal for adults. So check this out. They send it over, and it's something like this. I might be off a little bit. 2 drinks, 2 quarter pounders, 2 cheeseburgers, 10 nuggets, and 2 large fries. $12.
Wait a minute, back that up.
No, you heard it. $12. 2 cheeseburgers, 2 quarter pounders. Are you laughing?
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
You just making the reverse sound. I'm just like, oh man, we're off our rails today.
So it's like I'll get the full. I don't want to waste any more time. When he sends me the response to my message, which he actually may have when he sends me the full response, I will let everyone know what they're ordering tonight for dinner.
That's so cool.
This is a sad day. This is a sad day when you can get McDonald's without having to walk your happy ass down there, right? Like I feel like that should be mandatory for McDonald's because it is such crappy food that you should have to leave the couch to get it. Like, this is an unwelcome development. The only way this could be possibly worse is either somebody uses the Amazon, like the Ring system or whatever, to where you can actually let them in the house so that they can deliver it to you on the couch. Or number 2, the second way this can get worse is if McDonald's invents the Star Trek replicator, but the replicator only works with McDonald's food. That would be the worst development in the history of mankind.
So you bite your tongue, Matt Johnson. This is the reason why you and I don't get along. What you just described is my dream.
It's heaven on earth for Gene. All right, I'll give you that.
You guys are weird.
So let's do this. Zach, let's start with you.
Yeah.
So first of all, fill people in just briefly on, for anyone that didn't catch your last couple of episodes, who you are, where you are, what you do, and then let's dive into your story of how you've become micro-famous.
Yeah. So, Zach Hammer. My company is Real Estate Growth Hackers, and what I do is I help real estate agents to generate more qualified conversations for their business. So I've been doing that for a number of years. I started out actually as the marketing director for a real estate team in Las Vegas. Ended up using what I learned there to start helping agents across the country, and that's kind of what became Real Estate Growth Hackers. So in terms of becoming micro-famous, I mean, shoot, I read through the book in its entirety yesterday, and my brain exploded. What I can say is that I am probably implementing just a smattering of those things that you put together in the book, and my results, even just from a couple of the things that I'm doing with it, have been fantastic. So I'm really excited to actually start implementing more systematically how you actually lay out how to become MicroFamous. But yeah, like one of the things that's really stood out to me, that's really helped me in my business is by having a show, by having a podcast that I can invite guests onto, that I can use as a way to connect with people. It's been amazing how readily you can build relationships with people you never would you never would expect to be able to through traditional like cold emails and that kind of thing. So that to me has probably been one of the biggest things, is just having a show, being able to invite guests on, being able to get featured on podcasts, as well as just a relationship builder. You call it the modern networking, which is fantastic.
Zach, I got a tip for you, buddy. I know the author of MicroFamous. I can get a signed copy for you. Just slip me $20 and I'll get you a copy.
All right.
That's right.
Greg
has got some under his trench coat he can offer you. All right. So let me say real quick, before anybody gets the wrong impression about the book, it is super, super practical, but it's not just a list of stuff to do that makes your to-do list longer. Like, nobody needs that. If anybody knows me from listening to the show, I don't work more than 4 or 5 hours a day.
No,
right?
You hate work. You're like the antithesis of person who's like how little can I work and make the most amount of money?
Well, if I bring value to people along the way, yes, it's not just about working less, but yeah, and so the book is like the first portion of the book, the first third basically is about strategy and decisions and clarity, so that when you get to the next part and you start to implement, you're not just spinning your wheels and trying a whole bunch of stuff that may or may not work. You're doing things systematically that have been proven to work. Now, it's a different strategy than what most people do. But yeah, so I just wanted to point out, like, this is not a list of 101 things you can do to increase your sales, because nobody needs more stuff for their to-do list.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway,
and that's part of what's super powerful about the way that you laid it out is really you go through, I don't know, it's 50-50, right? Like you read, and maybe not even that, but you read books, and like half the time you're like, hey, this is great for like the next 6 months, and it's going to be useful to me maybe for the next 6 months. But everything changes. Like if you read a book about Facebook, like I don't even know why people would write books about Facebook, because it changes like every 2 weeks, right? But what you've written in here is very much an evergreen strategy, where the principles will apply today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, and be very useful no matter what you're doing. So there's a very exactly how you laid it out, the mindset, the strategy, that's super powerful for long-term implementation for sure.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going for, because one of my models for the book was the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, which I've mentioned on the show before. Most people still probably haven't gone and read it, but it's extremely short. There's illustrations in the book. It's very clear. It's an easy, fast read. And when I pick it up, like, yeah, some of the examples are a little dated, but it's still interesting to read, and the principles are timeless, right? Because it's not about the tactics. It was about strategy and principles. And so I can literally pick that book up any day of the week, any year for the next 20 years and get something new and different out of that book, and I wanted to write something like that. So yeah, so the bulk of the book is like hopefully timeless. But Zach, let's dive in a little bit with kind of how you've become well-known in your space, and like how long that took you and some of the things that you've personally done to make sure that people in the real estate space know who you are. Obviously, one of them was connecting with us and us bringing you on shows, and you've done other shows like this. You've got a Facebook group and stuff like that. But let's go back to kind of where you were working for a real estate team. You were a marketing guy, and let's work forward from there and just talk about what were some of the events along the way that made a difference.
Yeah, so for me, one of the biggest things, the most successful things that I've found in terms of growing my micro-famousness is definitely I do a lot of networking, right? I reach out to people a lot. I'm incredibly I try to be incredibly helpful, and you could probably attest to kind of the flood that could be sometimes. But
I can attest to that. Yes.
But honestly, that for me has always been central to my strategy in terms of developing relationships and connections with people who are already serving the market that I want to serve. And in that wheelhouse, in part of that has definitely been, the strategy of offering either exposure by getting people onto my show in order to build those relationships, or through that helpfulness, I've readily been able to get onto other shows as well. Actually, through our relationship, not just by coming on the show, but just you and me, Matt, connecting. You've helped me to get placed on a couple of other podcasts as well. From some of those podcasts, I've actually gotten paid speaking gigs as well. So
Nice.
it really is. It's a definitely a snowballing effect that the relationships have probably been the biggest thing that have made a difference along the way. And it's like I could probably quantify each relationship, but at this point the effects have been far-reaching enough that it's kind of hard to trace it to specific events. It's really a few key relationships, set the ball in motion for a lot of other important relationships as well.
Yeah, and I'll just say this real quick. Like you are a master of the strategic introduction, and I think agents way, way, way overlook that as a way to meet new people and as a way to become an influential person in the community. Greg, you're probably the one that's doing one of the best jobs of this. Jenny Wallach in Tulsa is another one that comes to mind, where she is, and both of you are doing this, strategically, methodically, consistently reaching out to other business owners that have influence in the community. They have respect. They have a little bit of an audience of some kind, or at least a name that attracts attention. And you're systematically going out there and building relationships with those people, and you're using things like Facebook Live video or a live podcast or whatever you call it to get them not just onto some sort of social media with you, but as a way to build a relationship with them and then introducing them to other people behind the scenes. Like that, to me, is such an extremely powerful strategy, and I don't know of hardly any agents that are taking advantage of it.
Yeah, that's something that I'm spending more and more time on. I'm actually starting a new networking event. My first event is going to be March 31st, and it's going to be Success is Contagious, and it's going to be a morning event. The primary focus of that is going to be just to sit and get with other business owners in a room, having maybe a bite or a cup of coffee or something like that, and learning from each other how each other are being successful. And then get them out the door, and then build the connections through that. And I'm really excited to see it. And it's something that in my old networking event that I've done for 3 or 4 years, four years, I think. My whole goal in the events, I would go and I would stand at the front and I would meet the person, figure what they do for a living, and then say, you know what? I think you should go talk to that person. That's their name. This is what they do. And then I'll walk the person over. Hey, you need to meet this person. This person needs to meet that person. This is what they do, have fun, and then I bounce, right? I get out of the way. Right. And people have said, thanks so much, Greg. This is a great networking event. People come back over and over and over again because they're getting deals. I didn't get shit out of it, but, I built a rapport with people, and who knows, maybe down the road, something will happen. Here's a great example. There's a guy I used to get, we used to drink a lot of liquor together, let's put it that way. And it's been at least like 15 years. We listed a property, my big $5 million listing on his street. I didn't know he lived on the street. He called me up and said, hey, dude, this is so-and-so. Remember me? I'm friends with so-and-so. You will come out and look at my house. I'm like, oh, shit. And it's because, I brought value to him. And when the time was right, he's like, hey, come list my property. So you don't know when it's going to come back to you for what you put out. Wouldn't you guys agree with that? It's not an instant gratification thing.
Yeah, putting out is definitely very important, Greg.
Putting out is definitely important, Matt, in any good relationship.
But exactly. All right. So, Gene, any comments on that, or if you're just going to dive in, I'd love to hear kind of your story of becoming micro-famous in your space too.
Well, I like to consider myself macro-famous, and I also would like to say that I think Greg's idea is stupid.
What? Fuck you.
I hate the mornings. I'm not coming to your event in the mornings because I don't like people until 10:15. Okay?
Gene, I'll give you a donut.
All right, I'll be there. No, I'm kidding.
Now
Chris, I think it's great.
wait. Is that on Eastern time zone or Western? Because that would be like 10:15 in the morning. Our time is like 1 o'clock for Eugene. So do you not like people until like 1:30 Eastern?
No, I'll give you the till EST, 10:15
Okay.
EST. Yeah. Maybe 10:30. Depends on how strong the coffee
Because
is.
that's like 7:15 my time. Like that's all right. I feel like I can bug you in the morning then.
Yeah, you certainly could, but if you wake up at 6:30, I don't want to hear none of that. Right? I don't hear none of that shit
Okay.
out of your mouth.
So
So macro. Let's get into macro. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm launching a book called Becoming MicroFamous. Sorry, I couldn't even get through it. I'm sorry, I couldn't even get through it. Well, what's funny is
who was it? It was Michael Hellickson, who's been on the show before. He runs the Club Wealth podcast, which we run for him. And so he read the book, and that was what he came back with. He shot me the feedback back, and he said, "Dude, this is awesome." He's like, here's my quote for you. Becoming macro-famous is about ego. Becoming micro-famous is about profit. I'm like, you freaking nailed it.
That's pretty
It was
good. I like
so
that.
good. Yeah.
That's actually
So
really
anytime
good.
Yeah, anytime I have people that come back and say, well, why would you want that? Why not be macro-famous? I'm like, well, would you like to stroke your ego, or would you like to be profitable?
Well, listen, I did an event.
Right.
I did an event last week in Orlando, and I brought you up and brought up the book, and people were like, and I was talking about, become crazy famous to 50 of your people, and everybody was like,
and by the
oh
way,
my
that
God.
comes from Zach. Like that, Zach, you mentioned the phrase. We were talking about your database. You said something about like become Tom Cruise famous to your database.
Right.
Like that was one of those little drops in the bucket. Like as I was writing the book, I thought like I can't use Tom Cruise famous because you can't get away with saying his name. But in like behind the scenes, it's a great way to describe it, especially for an agent.
Right.
Like your mission should be to become Tom Cruise famous to just your database.
It's
Right.
brilliant.
Yeah,
It's brilliant
exactly.
because it's attainable. It feels like you can do it, right?
Right.
Right.
Like it's real simple. It
Right.
feels like, I mean, it's not simple, but it feels like when somebody says become macro famous, you got to, I deal with people that are like, I want to be all over the country. That's overwhelming. But if you said, I
Right.
just need 50 people in my circle or 20, I told somebody, they were like, that's a big task. I said, start with 10. Start with 5. Get 5,
Right.
2, 3, 4, or 5 raving fans. But to get back to it, this is going to be counterintuitive to what we do, but I think part of the reason, and I wouldn't call myself macro, I was kidding, of course, right? I'm not macro famous, and I'm certainly not micro famous. But I know a lot of people, and I think part of that ends up being that I'm present in their world in multiple aspects. So I'm on their, I'm at the gym where they work out. I'm at school where their kids go to school. I'm at the games afterwards. I'm at the dances where I talk to the moms. They see me online. We're friends on Facebook.
This is
Well,
sounding
I
more
like-
like a stalking strategy so far. So, Gene, where does this turn into marketing?
I am there. I shouldn't say passively, but I'm not. But I'm always in the same spots as they are because I'm out in the community. Does that make it better?
Right. Yes, that does make it better. Yes.
And
It's
here's the other,
better
here's
than
the other
showing
thing.
up there to their school with their kids and talking to the moms.
My
Yeah,
kids
in,
go
in
to
his no windowed white van.
Exactly.
He's always in the community.
The official
with
panel
spray
van of
painted on the side,
GeneVolpe.com.
Candy. This is
Yes.
candy spray painted on the side. But here's what this is what, if you said what's one thing you're really really good at, and this is going to be funny too, you'll be able to spin this, but it's getting into other people's business. and what I mean like that is I don't mean like I'm that dude that's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? I genuinely always want to know what's going on in your world. And there's never been a place I've been to where I don't get into a long, in-depth conversation with 10 to 12 people. And at some point in the next hour or 4 weeks, I'll probably connect one of those people to somebody that can help them without any expectation that something's going to come back to me.
Right.
100%.
Right. It's one of the things that you just mentioned. I feel like is a very powerful portion of it that a lot of people forget about. Which is you could have the desire to be like a master connector and connect people all you want, but unless you actually start building a mental Rolodex of who these people are, what is a good connection for them, what are they looking for, what kind of help do they need, like you can't make good connections just by knowing somebody's name. You can't make a good connection. You have to know who is their ideal client or what are the goals that they're working on, so that when you hear about somebody else that's a fit for that, you're able to make that connection. Which takes having a very strong degree of empathy, having good conversations with people, learning about them, and that's part of what's so powerful about doing these kinds of interviews with people, using a MicroFamous strategy of having those conversations, learning about people's goals, finding out enough about somebody so you can make good connections.
Yeah, I actually have a Trello board where I keep track of people, like key people. And like I
Right.
just had a call with my guest relations head this morning in the agency, and we just went through hey, here's the two people that I interviewed on my own podcast this week. Here's someone else I had a
Right.
connect call with. Here's someone else that I talked to this morning that was nice enough to share the book, and he asked about other podcasts. Let's look at other podcasts, and basically we just went through, and we're just like trying to connect puzzle pieces. So I
Right.
actually keep a Trello board with a bunch of people's names on it and podcasts that I'm connected to, and I'm just looking for ways to like connect the dots. And it's actually an appointment on my
Right.
calendar for 9 o'clock every Friday morning with my person in the agency who's in charge of our guest relations, who helps make those happen. And it's also just somebody to like brainstorm through. Zach, before I had her start jumping on that call with me, I thought of you, and I thought, like if I was going to jump on with somebody of all people, I would jump on with you. Like if I wanted like an accountability partner for that, I would have reached out to you if I didn't already pay somebody $15 an hour that I could just pay to do it. But yeah, like that's a great strategy. Is if you find yourself going like, hey, I want to make more introductions and become more of a person of influence, but I find myself procrastinating. Like just go into the LGSO, the Lead Gen Description Objections Facebook group, and just post that, hey, I want to do an accountability call once a week with someone else who wants to build relationships with business owners in the community, and let's just jump on for 30 minutes a week and look for ways that we can do that. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And the other thing that's important in this too, because like it all relates together. So the concept of being micro-famous, where you have what you describe as your home base, where you have that centralized idea, the clear and compelling idea for what you're known for. That is also part of how you end up getting referrals as well. How you receive those connections is because
Yep.
if you try to be known for everything, that means you're not like nobody knows how to connect people to you. Nobody knows how to like what is a good referral. If you can help everybody, I don't know when somebody is the right person for me to send to you. But if you're known for something very clear and very specific, it stands out in my mind. It stands out as like, who can I refer to this person? Well, they're known for this thing. It's like anytime somebody mentions something close to that, I think of you. I think of that person. But if it's a vague idea, you don't exist in people's minds because you're there among the noise.
Really. And Greg, who was it? Was it the Bevinator that we had on the show last week that pointed out the stat that the average person knows something like 12 real estate agents in their life?
Something large.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the problem: so most agents are so desperate for deals that they don't want to be known for anything other than having a real estate license, because they want somebody who has any sort of real estate deal to come for them for everything: land, expired homes, FSBO and it didn't work, upgrading from their first home to their second home. They're thinking about a commercial lease. They want to rent an apartment. Like they want like anything associated with real estate, they want to flow to them. The problem is that's not the world that we live in. If you were the only real estate agent in town, or if you were the only real estate agent that most people had a relationship with, that would work. But when the average person knows 12, even if they knew 3, you're already toast, right? Because they're just going to pick and choose whoever they like better or who they think is going to connect with people based on their personality. So there's a couple people that I like that are really good at articulating what they want to be known for within the real estate niche. And I'll give you an example. So we had Jeff Cohn, who's a client and a friend of mine. We've had him on the show years ago when he shared this. We've had him on several times since then. But if you go back, there's an amazing episode called, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Jeff's first episode with us has like 10,000 views or something. And it's like scripts and systems to sell 500 homes a year. Does that sound familiar? I think that's his first episode.
Could be.
So,
I mean,
I think
yeah.
so. But anyway, if you can find it, drop the link in the Facebook
Okay.
chat. But here's the deal. Here's what Jeff shared that was so powerful. He said, I trained people how to refer me.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell them, look, who I really love to serve is I love to serve people who are probably most likely in West Omaha. They have a home that they need to sell, and they probably have a family, so they're concerned with the school districts, and they want to get out of the home they're in now into the next home and either stay in the same school district or get into a better school district. So if you know somebody like that who's in that life situation, send them my way. And by the way, shoot me their information, and I will follow up and drop your name, right? Like, so when he would talk to people, he would tell them not just that I'm an agent, not just send me anybody that recommends real estate. He would give them like the life scenario, right? And he would tell them what he specialized in within the real estate niche. Now, obviously, that leaves things out like commercial leases and land deals, right? Well, that's because that's not Jeff's bread and butter. Jeff knew that his bread and butter was the homeowner who had a home to sell and wanted to buy one, and they're concerned about the school district. So why not just call it out, right? And then create a bunch of, and then nowadays you can create a whole bunch of content that speaks very, very deeply to the challenges that only that one person in that situation faces. And you can drive that point home over and over and over and over again on social media, or by doing taking some advantage of some of the avenues that Gene Volpe can help you with. And you can deliver that message over and over and over again to the point where people don't just know you for the real estate. They know you for the types of clients that you work with and the exact problem you solve. Like, to me, that's what it means to be the MicroFamous agent. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other aspect of that I think is that, like, a lot of people miss as well is you are constantly in a battle against obscurity, right? Like it's not just whether or not people, want to work with you. It's whether they even think of you. And if you can get past that, where you're actually known for something, even if it's something very specific, I have found you will often get more referrals than your ideal. You will get people who are even outside of the spectrum of what you specify, just because you actually at least exist in the person's brain, right? So if you are that specific, if you're like, I specialize in first-time home buyers who are looking to work, looking to live in this specific neighborhood, it's like when somebody can wrap their mind around something, now you at least exist in their brain. So if they find a first-time home buyer who's working in some other, or who wants to live in some other part of town, or maybe it's not their first time, but they live in that part of town, or maybe it's just they know that you do real estate now. But you actually exist in their brain for that. You start to receive referrals even outside of what you specify, because by specifying, they can place you in their brain, where when you're just the commodity, you're just one of many, as opposed to being somebody that stands out.
Yeah, that's a hard thing for people to accept and wrap their brain around until you see it happen to you. But the target, like Dan Kennedy would say something to the effect of, the target is not the market. Like just because you're very clear in who you're targeting and you're very specific in how you speak to them doesn't mean that the rest of the market won't sit up and pay attention and ask to work with you. The good thing is here's the dynamic that happens. People will call you or message you and go, hey, I know you don't usually work with people like me, but I see all your stuff, and I know you usually only work with first-time home buyers, but we have a house to sell, and we'd love to buy through you. Would you be interested in coming over and doing a listing appointment, or what I'm saying, like a meeting to talk about listing our home? I know it's not what you usually do. Like I get this all the time on the podcast service. People asking if we can pitch them, because that's not something that we offer in our service, but they know that we're in podcasting, right? For example. Greg, you have people from outside of your area, farther than you would like to drive, going like, hey, I know you normally specialize in like Danville, Alamo, that area, but I'm down in Pleasanton. Like, would you be willing to come out? And I know it's a bit of a drive for you, but would you be willing to come down and meet with us? Like that kind of thing happens, and I think most people don't realize that that's exactly what happens, and it completely shifts the dynamic. Right? To where you're not even selling them as much anymore, because now they're asking you to make an exception for them. So anyway, yeah. So Greg, this has happened to you, but I do want to talk about a little bit about me and Greg and our journey and how we got to be like kind of micro-famous within the real estate space. So Greg, if you want to share, like let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to 2015, because it's been a long time since we shared any of this stuff. Yeah. And unless you've been like a long time listener, you wouldn't even know some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. But why don't we start with the ill-fated phone call from Greg to me back in 2015, where you pitched me on starting a podcast.
So Matt and I met. Matt was my coach over at Viral Marketing. We shot videos together every week. We had a blast, and I was hearing about this whole podcast thing, and I'm like, well, I think I'm pretty decent on this whole like video thing, and I kind of know what I'm talking about. And Matt's pretty fun to hang out with, and he knows what he's doing. So I shot him a phone call. I'm like, hey, Matt, it's Greg. What's up? Blah blah blah. Yakety schmack. Hey, dude, do you want to start a podcast together? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, cool.
That sounds like
that was also the extent of the business model, by the way.
It was.
It sounds like a conversation out of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
It was.
Yeah, exactly. Like Greg stepped out of the phone booth and like, we should start a podcast.
And so, but I didn't know that Matt was going to ask me the same question. He was going to do it in the next week. I just beat him to the punch,
Yep.
so I can claim that fame right there. I'm micro-famous in that sense. But so Matt and I, we sat down and we're like, dude, do you think anyone's even going to listen to us? And Matt and I, we looked at each other, I've told the story 100 times, and we're like, I don't know, but fuck, we enjoy having fun together, and we're just going to get on and just talk. And we just did. And Matt did some research as per normal. I did not. And he looked into kind of what it might take to get this whole podcasting up and running. And we went back and we saw that it took Gary Vee 18 months to really kind of get traction with Wine Library, and said, and we literally just put our heads down and we just went, okay, 18 months, let's grind. And we just started pushing out content just like a machine, just crushing the content out. We're not even lifting our heads up, not even giving a fuck what is going on. We're just content, value. We look up. And then over time, we've been honored and so blessed to be impactful on, I don't even know how many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of real estate agents around the country, around the world, from putting out content. And it was just because we hustled. And you don't really look up. Like, I have a friend of mine that always is going, hey, did you watch what this guy's doing or what this girl's doing? And I'm like, dude, stop sending me their crap. I don't care what they're doing. It makes no difference to me. He's like, but I want to see what everyone else is doing. I'm like, yeah, but stop looking around. Just look at what you got to get done on a daily basis and grind it out and get it done. Get yours done. Then you can go watch whatever you want to watch. Go watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and watch Matt star in it.
Being remade, by the way.
I know. I can't believe that.
Oh man.
But I mean, that's the thing that you and I did, Matt, and I think that's the thing. If you want to be micro-famous, you've got to put the work in. It is not simple. Look, all these people that are out there becoming, or that by name, they have a team of people behind them that is pushing them out, companies behind them that are putting them up on pedestals. You might not have that, so you've got to create your own pedestal. It's going to be small and short, but you can grow it over time to whatever height you want to grow to, but you got to know there's going to be work involved. Yeah. So I mean, I would get the book MicroFamous. I would look at the tactical ways to really start growing this. Don't go reinvent the damn wheel, okay? I keep trying to do that with Matt. It never works. So just follow the footsteps. It works. God,
I like to reinvent the wheel.
Don't try. I'd like for you to not really oversell the value portion of this podcast, because as long as I've been on, there hasn't been a shit piece of value. But I want to ask you that. But I want to ask you. And what's funny is I meet people like that randomly in real life on the East Coast, and they're like, "Oh my God, I love the show. I listen to the show." So I'm kidding, of course. But did it take you 18 months? Like, when did you really notice? Where was that? Where was that? Slight. Boom, there it goes. Where was it?
So a couple of things. So I think we started first of all, we started on YouTube Live in spring of 2015. We didn't turn it into a podcast until the summer, like 3 or 4 months in. I think by the end of the next year, we were getting speaking invitations. So, Greg, you and I were just looking at pictures for your speaking reel this morning, and we spoke in San Diego at the San Diego Realtors Association in 2017, like April of 2017.
Wow.
The show had been around for less than 2 years at that point, and we were already booked at a Realtor Association breakout session. Then we spoke at like Real Estate Success Rocks, which is Patrick Lillia's event, which at the time was in Columbia, South Carolina. We spoke in front of a packed room of like 150 people there. It took off, it was a good, I would say, 18 months. But once it did, it started to take off. And there was a couple of things. So, Greg, your McDaniel challenge, I think, helped.
Mm-hmm.
Us pushing out content on YouTube, which now we have 15,000 subscribers there, helped. But there was something really interesting. So I was doing a video the other day for a client where I was giving them an example, right? And I took them behind the scenes and I showed them the stats for Real Estate Uncensored. And what you notice is like it's a very nice, natural, organic upward curve in terms of like how the audience grew. What you didn't see was a bunch of huge spikes. So, Greg, you and I have never had a video on YouTube go over, I don't know, let's say 20 or 25,000 views.
Yeah, we have.
We've never had have we had?
Yeah,
no, maybe now. Maybe
we got a couple. We got a bunch of them.
We've never had a particular episode go viral. Let's put it that way. We have episodes where over the last 4 years they have accumulated another like 10,000 downloads a year for the last few years. But we've never had a huge spike where a certain episode went viral. Like if you look at the back end of our podcast stats, we've never had these huge spikes. Like we didn't get Gary Vee as a guest and get 1 million listeners dumped onto us. Like nothing like that happened. But what's interesting is you look at the numbers grow and you look at the times and you go, oh, wait a minute, we doubled the downloads in that time. And so I think that's what people miss, is that it's the consistency of effort over time and just people naturally telling other people and you retaining the people you have and adding new people to the audience. You get to that point where you hit a tipping point and then things start to take off, but you don't need to do viral. Like you don't need to create a piece of content that goes viral. You need to create great content for the right people, but you don't need a piece of content that gets millions of downloads in order to actually grow. So I thought that was interesting. Even I didn't really realize that until I got in the back end of our own podcast stats and looked at just how it grew, which was interesting.
I just looked at our highest one is at 47,000 views.
Yeah. So good, but definitely not, not setting the world on fire.
No, not at all. But here's the other part of this. We never paid a penny for marketing. This is 100% word of mouth and organic.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know that we've spent more than $100 on experimental boosting on Facebook ads, if anything. That's probably the most that we've spent on ads. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we basically went from starting a podcast and being relative nobodies, at least in the sense that nobody knew who we were, to speaking on stage in 18 months. And then from there, the podcast continued to grow, and obviously the speaking engagement invitations started to roll in at that point. Invitations to be on other podcasts started to roll in. The relationship with Aaron Wittenstein, where we got access and we were all of a sudden live streaming into the LGSO Facebook group, which at the time had 30,000 people, right? So like once you hit a tipping point and you go from getting seen and noticed to getting known, like that's when like one or two key relationships can come along to just accelerate your results. And that was one of the things that happened to us.
Well, then we got in touch with Glenn, Twiddle, with Australia. We got invited to come down to his biggest event and speak at that event. Now we're international speakers. It's just, it will take time, but if you stay tried and true to the things that are going to work, MicroFamous, can get as big or as little as you want to. It'll happen on your schedule. How much are you willing to commit to the content, commit to the process? Yeah, you saw the cat.
Yes. For anyone who's listening, there is a cat in Greg's place that consistently walks across the screen, and I'm pretty sure that cat is going to be micro-famous in its own right.
Oh, his brown star is, because he always wants to show that thing off. He never wants to show his face. It's always the reverse end of the cat.
Yeah, he's very. I don't know if that's shy or the opposite of shy. Maybe he's wildly confident.
No, he's just wildly confident. He's like, check that out. Wow. No, but I think he times his napping schedules so that when I do live stuff, he's like, "Ooh, time to get up and just put the tail out there." Right. So that's not a bad thing. I want to hone in on that right there. People will relate with you because of stupid shit like Bandito getting up and putting his tail in front of the camera. People, when I'm doing beers and calls, they're like, "Where's the kitty?" And I'm like, "Oh, dipshit's taking a nap." They're like, "Get him!" I'm like, "Oh, fine. I'll freaking go get the dumb cat. Here, kitties." But that's the kind of stuff. You don't have to be perfect. To be imperfectly perfect is reality, and it's okay to have the flaws, the flubs, the stutters, the stammers. That's okay. That's normal. That's natural. That's human. If you're perfect, then it's not going to come across as relatable. I was talking to a client of mine that his wife is an Instagram star. And she's gonna make a fuck ton of money just by modeling on Instagram. I'm like, damn it, I want to be a hot chick. But
that can go so many ways.
I know. But the thing that I was talking to him about is that shit, I forgot my freaking thought pattern. Damn it.
Because Gene needs to roll out. So Gene, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Next week I'm gonna have a really, really nice pitch for you guys. I'm actually going to sell something next week. How's that sound?
Oh, really?
We're gloriously waiting.
Oh, shit. Reach out to me. Listen, it's been the same thing for the last 2 years. GeneVolpe.com. There's a little widget that pops up. If you need help, wait, hold on. I wrote it down. Hold on a minute. Stay with me.
Oh, and I had to give Gene. Go ahead, buddy. No.
I was going to say, if you need help generating positive results for your business, call me. Okay, I got it.
Wait, that was it? You wrote that down? Oh, great. This is not good. Results. Oh my gosh.
I think Greg was going to say something nice about me. Go ahead.
Well, kind of. I mean, I had a gal that, she and I were connected, and I'm like, hey, because when my brother Brad came on, and he was talking about Likely.ai, his predictive analytics company, she went and signed up for it, and so I was on the onboarding call with her, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to connect you with my boy Gene Volpe, the evil bald ninja. She's like, I've reached out to him 3 times, and he never, ever, ever got back to me. Blah. And I'm like, I'm going to use this against him on air.
None of that is true. I dug into it. None of that's true.
Yeah,
I dug into it.
Yeah, but
listen,
yeah.
Before I bail, go out and download MicroFamous. Do it. Matt, I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you. I know already. I can't believe – I don't believe Zach read it yesterday. That's ridiculous.
That's bullshit. I haven't even read it.
I read the chapter Matt asked me to read, and I was like bleeding from my ears. But no, I'm kidding. No, I'm only teasing. I can't wait to actually buy. I'm going to buy the book. I need the hard copy. I'm going to ship it to you for you to autograph it and write me a really nice love note in it. But listen, seriously, congratulations. I'm excited for you. I know it's going to crush it, and good luck.
I appreciate it. All right, everybody, go to genevolpe.com. Get more exposure. Get more results, as Gene would say. All right, we got to let
See you boys.
All right, later, Gene.
We'll see you next week. All right, so Zach, what's the best way to get in touch with you, and why would someone want to do that?
Yeah, great question. So first off, I'm gonna reiterate what Gene just said. People need to be getting this book. They need to check it out. I literally did read it yesterday. You got the play-by-play while I was reading it, but yeah. So go check it out.
You were messaging me about the contents in real time.
Yeah,
so
you
I know for a fact
how long
you
it
read
took me to read it. But yeah, what's the link again? It's GetMicroFamous.
MicroFamousBook.com.
MicroFamousBook.com. So go check that out.
What if we go to MicroFamous.com? What if we go to MicroFamous.com? What do we find?
I don't own it, which is why somebody has it and is not using it. So MicroFamousBook.com or go to GetMicroFamous.com. That's my general link for everything having to do with the brand. Thank you, Greg. Yeah. You're a hero.
I was just thinking, like, what kind of porn site does that take us to?
Yeah, exactly.
So what I do in relation to this, if you're a real estate agent who wants to see how you can implement some of these MicroFamous ideas in the real estate world, we've got a service that we call the Local Celebrity Show. You can check that out at localcelebrityshow.com. Learn more about that. If you want to learn more about just how we help real estate agents in general to generate more qualified conversations, you can check out what we're doing at realestategrowthhackers.com.
Yeah, so I'm going to hold up one of the illustrations from the book that I had printed out. See this beautiful thing here?
Lots of sprockets.
Pretty.
See the biggest sprocket? Start a podcast.
Right.
Which is exactly what if you want to start a locally focused podcast, a locally focused show to make you a local celebrity, Zach is the man. So I do it for thought leaders, Zach does it for agents. So Zach is if you're an agent and you want to reach a community of buyers and sellers, Zach is your person to talk to for that. But that is like the centerpiece of kind of the new media machine that I recommend that people have. Is that podcast, because then all the rest of your content can spin out of your podcast. So anyway, Absolutely. Okay. And then, Greg, what's the best way for people to reach you, and why should they want to do such a crazy thing?
I'm a big huggy, I was going to say I was a big cuddly teddy bear. That didn't come out right at all. Dyslexic is coming in hard today.
No, I think you were trying to say both cuddly and huggable at the same time.
It was a train wreck. Just did not. No one survived. Guys, go ahead and reach out to me. Give me a call. My cell, 925-915-1978. Let's talk about EXP. Let's talk about what we're doing, how we're growing, who we can connect you with, like people like Zach that can literally help you grow your business, help you become microfamous in your area, help become top of mind, be relevant to the community. Zach is just one of the many arrows we have in our quiver that can help you become the slayer of all sales in your area. That kind of came out normal. A little violent, but not bad. But yeah, guys, go ahead and do that there. Yeah, I'm actually doing that, Zach, and it's working out really, really well. and I'm doing interviews with local restaurants, local businesses, and I'm sending it out to my database, and I'm getting a great return on it. I'm having people when I go to CMA or listing appointments or meet with a buyer or whatever else, like, hey Greg, I just saw your latest video about blah. It was fantastic. I went down there and took advantage of the deal. So it really does work, guys. I'm living proof of it. And Matt, I know we're running out close on time, but I want you give a hack on how to get in front of people. You did it, and I did it this week. I had a 90% return, and you have done it as well. Tell people what the hack is and how they can get in front of their past clients and friends and family with literally a click of a button.
Yeah, so one of the things that I did to promote the book launch this morning is I recorded a couple of voice messages to myself. And one of them was aimed at a specific, folks that had left a review for the book already, like the advanced praise. And I recorded a message thanking them for that, and then just letting them know that the Kindle version was up today, and basically just gave them a message of what I was asking them to do. Like, hey, can you do me a favor? Go grab it, download it, review it, all that fun stuff. But what I did by recording it as a message to myself in Facebook on mobile. In your mobile version of Messenger, there pops up a little icon next to that voice message, and it's a forward button, which means you can, when you click that button, it pulls up a list of your contacts in Messenger, and you can send that voice message, and you can forward it to other people in your address book, and it shows up as a message that appears as if you recorded it just for them. So if you get the scripting right, you can record a message that doesn't sound canned. It sounds like it's personal to them, and in a way it was. And you can send it to multiple people. So it's a great way to keep in touch with your database, or if you want to have a smaller group of people, like a referral network or business owners in the area that you message on a regular basis. That's a super easy way to do it, and it looks custom for them. The only difference is you're not saying their name or something in the message. So that was a really easy way that I was able to get the word out about the book this morning.
So here's the message I sent out to my database guys. So just so you guys can hear an idea.
Hey, what up? Hey, man. I was kind of scrolling through Facebook, saw you pop up. I'm like, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. So just want to catch up, see if we want to get a cup of coffee or a beer or something like that anytime in the near future. So if you do, let's do it. All right. Hit me back and we'll set something up. Talk soon. Later.
Sent that out to 12 people. 10 of them got back to me within 24 hours, and I have 3 meetings set on the calendar already for people I haven't talked to in eons.
Yeah, isn't that? Yeah, I mean, first of all, that was that, and the way that you just had the very authentic little stumbles and things like that is a great thing to leave in there. The fact that it wasn't polished is exactly the way it should have been.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
Love it.
So,
all right.
The most important thing, color of the bow, Johnson. What do we have today, my little cold-hearted friend?
Has to be red. Got to tie a red bow around this episode.
Red bow for the red cover on MicroFamous. Okay, I love red bows. Zach, you're a G amongst G's. I appreciate you coming out, man. You're a legend. Reach out to him for becoming MicroFamous in your market area. Matt, hold on. I can't do my wrap-up. Where's the link? How do people get the book?
Oh, yeah, microfamousbook.com.
Okay, microfamousbook.com. Go there, claim your free copy right now. I love you to pieces. Matt likes you. Zach is infatuated with you. This is Real Estate Uncensored, guys. And until next episode, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.